and welcome to Commodity Champions. I'm Ekta Batra. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the three-day India Energy Week in Bengaluru. This is the first major event under India's G20 presidency. 650 companies will be exhibiting at the event, which is welcoming more than 30,000 attendees. The themes of the conference included strategies to deliver a multifaceted energy system and making energy accessible, amongst others. Manisha Gupta caught up with Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, who is confident that India can navigate any price volatility in the energy market.
We do understand that a new energy economy is being written right now. What would you say? What chapter is India on right now?
Well, I don't know if I'll be as generous with words to say a new energy economy is being unveiled. The fact is that you have a changed international situation, which is, I think the coordinates of that were set by a pandemic, which had a devastating impact on economic activity, which led to economic activity virtually coming to a standstill in March 2020. Then you had slow revival. Then you had the, this entire vaccine story. And somewhere along the line, energy prices dropped and they became $19.50 a barrel. Today, they're shooting up. They're shooting up to, it went up to $120. Now we are back in manageable $80, $82. So there is a new world out there. How do countries adjust to that new world? Will we be able to navigate as newer developments take place? I mean, one large country which is a $12 trillion economy is, reports say, recovering very fast. Do they have appetite for further amounts of energy? These are questions that will be asked. As far as India is concerned, I can tell you with a sense of responsibility that whatever happens, we feel confident that as we have navigated in the past few quarters, we will continue to navigate with confidence to make sure that our population, which has an energy demand which is increasing rapidly, that energy demand will not only be met, but it will be met in a manner which is sustainable and which is affordable. And, well, that's something I think that all large democracies have to do because, some of us are more robust in terms of the kind of noise level which comes back if you're not able to ensure energy affordability. But that is, I think, so a new energy economy, yes, the rules of the game have changed slightly. We are now facing a situation where newer suppliers are coming. Some of the traditional countries which had given up on production are suddenly finding that it is economically not only viable but profitable to come back into E&P. Our own E&P acreage has, we've just released 1 million square kilometers out of the 3.5, which was a no-go area. And I'm confident that the possibility of having conversations like this during an India Energy Week, this will help in our overall, energy navigation and energy transition.
Sir, maybe I'm being a devil's advocate here, but would you say that energy transition is difficult, it is costly, and there is cost competitiveness within the energy transition as well?
I don't think you're being difficult. I think perhaps you haven't spent as much time on energy transition as I have. I'm absolutely confident, as we said in the panel, people are now beginning to realize that energy transition is not only viable, doable, but it's around the corner.
Okay, moving on, renewables are growing very strongly in India, driven by government policy. That's the word coming in from Faith Birol of the International Energy Agency. Speaking to Manisha Gupta, he added that India is a major driver of energy demand growth and has emerged as the new leader in the global. Here's an excerpt of that particular conversation.
First up, G20 presidency of India. I mean, there are various sectors on plate here, but especially for energy, what does it really mean?
So in terms of energy, India has a wonderful story to tell. India has major achievements in energy in the last few years. Unfortunately, it is not very much heard of internationally. If I can give you a couple of examples, India in the last 10 years or so brought electricity to about 500 million people. It is equal to the population of entire Europe. It's a huge success. Electricity means life, electricity means health, electricity means economic growth. So this is second one. Again, it doesn't catch the headlines of the newspapers, but for me very important. In India and in many, in fact, developing countries, it is women and children who prematurely lose their lives because of cooking with primitive stoves.
Right.
The Ujjwala program was a major achievement, and again, Prime Minister Modi's program brought clean cooking in millions of families. Another area, renewables, growing very, very strongly in India, driven by the government policies, but also the economics of renewables are getting better. And recently, I was very happy to read the concept put on the table by Prime Minister Modi on life. Life is an excellent concept, how we can use energy more efficiently, how we can make wiser choices in our lives. And we have recently, in fact, made a study to show the world that if everybody, the entire nations around the world, can follow the footsteps that were described in life, we can save a lot of energy, a lot of money, and reduce the emissions significantly. So looking at all of these things together, India has a very strong dossier for the G20, and I hope India can share these experiences with the rest of the G20 countries and be a source of inspiration for the others.
I also want to talk about the Indian demand going forward, and we do understand that perhaps the major demand growth is coming in from India. Are you putting any numbers to that on Indian demand growth versus the world?
India is a major single most important driver of energy demand growth. In 2016, I remember very well, I had another meeting with Prime Minister Modi. At that time, I told him, it was 7 years ago, 6.5, I told him that I expect, I told Prime Minister, that India will move to the center stage of global energy affairs. And today, India is at the center of global energy affairs in terms of being a major driver of global energy demand, as you mentioned, but at the same time bringing renewable energy, bringing efficiency, new ideas, and being an important leader in the global south.
So when you talk about investments, I'm assuming there's that much capex around. It has to go in renewables and fossil fuels, where we are looking at underinvestment already. And then we are also looking at investments that are needed in metals and all of these minerals as well. What do you think the world will really prioritize going forward?
Now, as of today, when we look at the entire world, which IEA does all the time, we invest $1 trillion for fossil fuels and $1.4 trillion for the clean energy.
Okay.
So 1 trillion for fossil fuels, 1.4 for the clean energy. If we want to be in line with our climate course and have a secure energy system, this 1.4 trillion needs to go to 4 trillion in 2030.
Okay.
And the problem is, most of this money need to come in the developing countries. And many developing countries do not have the financial muscles to raise this money. So therefore, my hope and my expectation is multilateral development banks, such as the World Bank and the other international financial institutions, to provide support to developing countries in terms of the concessional funding, in terms of the providing de-risking arrangements, and so that the developing countries have enough means to accept the clean energy transitions. If you ask me to choose the biggest problem to reach our climate goals, I would tell you it is the financing of clean energy in developing countries, and here there is a role for advanced economies and multilateral development bank. It is economically important and morally responsible.
With the way the markets are working, and we are looking at perhaps tighter situations, especially in the second half of this year, with most banks and brokerages now saying that $100 could be coming back, how do you look at the directional move that the crude is looking at in sense of demand, supply and price?
I think the demand is already strong as we speak now. It's about 1.9 million barrels per day, about 2 million barrels per day we expect for this year. And half of it, of the global oil demand growth will come from China.
Okay.
And China is the biggest uncertainty. If the Chinese economy rebounds stronger than we expect, then this could push the demand higher up. And in the absence of the producing countries putting more oil in the markets, this can bring the international oil prices a bit higher than today, which in my view would be risky for the rather fragile situation of the global economy. So from that point of view, we have to watch the markets, and if the Chinese demand is stronger than we expect as a result of strong opening up of the economy, and then there will be some job to do from the producing countries' point of view.
And you don't think Russia is a big problem right now? Because despite the sanctions, we've seen the oil continue to flow in.
So currently it is so, but if the demand of China comes very strongly, there may be some contribution expected from the producing countries to bring more barrels to the markets.
What place are you bending? $70, $60 or 100?
I cannot give you any price range by law, but I can tell you that if the prices are higher than current levels, it may be a red zone for many emerging countries whose economies are relying on imported energy.
Fair point. Dr. Biddle, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate this. Thank you for talking to CNBC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, time for a quick break now on Commodity Champions, but stay tuned. We'll be back with coverage from the Indian Energy Week.